Okay, guys, let's get started. So my name is Axel Burley, and I'm a Scrum trainer, a certified Scrum trainer from Scrum Alliance, and I've been working as a trainer for a couple of years now. My background is actually technical, right? So I've been for many years working as a developer, and but then I joined, then I got certified by Scrum Alliance, and I started my journey as a trainer, as a coach. And so the thing is, in recent years, I've been working as a product owner in our startup here in Brazil. And being a trainer, this is really a privilege because I can really understand and I feel the pain and the challenges that product owners have. So, and I came to really appreciate this role in the context of Scrum. So it's a really great thing to be able to talk about this. So when one of the most frequent question that I get from my students in my CSPO training course is, how do you prioritize, right? So let's start that question, guys. So how do you prioritize in your day, in your work as a product owner? What is your strategy? Anyone?
Yeah,
Right?
in order in so it's not prioritization anymore. It's like ordering the things which we need to do first and second
Okay.
and third. So yeah, that's how.
Mhm.
Of
Yeah,
course,
so
the
that's
value and what value it brings.
it's about value, understanding what is important, what is less important, right? And yeah, so, and the thing is, what I have noticed is, let me give you some context, guys. I'm going to share my screen and so that I can share with you. So I like to, in my training courses, I like to explain things by actually drawing them. So, so what I see usually in the career of a product owner, and tell me if that's happening in your case too, right? You are as a product owner working, and maybe you are joining a company, right? So in the journey of a product owner, so what happens very often, and that's very common, that we join a company and they say, okay, we need you to work as a product owner. I say, oh, fantastic. So basically, you have a situation where there is already an initiative going on. So you have already a product backlog. And what do we do as product owners? We start working based off our product backlog, right? And what is our mission, right? Our mission is to deliver a valuable product. Our mission is product success. This is what we're aiming for, right? That's our journey. So tell me, guys, so in your situation, when you joined your company organization, was there already an initiative going, or did you start from a fresh product idea?
I can say about things. I'm a
Yes.
product manager,
Mm-hmm.
so in an IT environment. So we work closely with the product owner. Product owner is come from business side, represent the business, what they
Mm-hmm.
want, what they need. They provide the business context with us. So we use
Yes.
agile approach for this IT project. So we will work together. We identify what is the vision of the product and what is the roadmap of the product. How many MVP
Great.
we can develop.
Great.
MVP
Great.
is a minimum viable product. So after that, we identify the features and prioritize the features. So
Okay,
we
so what I see, so you are in a context where you have the opportunity to start from the product idea from the beginning, right?
yes.
Well, so what happens is then in many cases, let me just quickly fix here. Okay, I can't. So what happens is very often we don't have that luxury to start afresh. Sometimes we are joining a company with already has an initiative going on, and we already have a backlog, right? So the question is, yeah, how do we prioritize? And this is so, and the challenge usually is that we need to, in order to be able to prioritize, we actually need to understand the strategy which is behind the product. And many product owners, when they join, they are not really clear on what the strategy actually is, right?
That's true. We do have a project like that. Join at the midpoint. So have to start over, we'll identify what the product strategy is.
Exactly.
But more close with the product owner.
Yeah. So what you can do then is when you have this product backlog, you can have like a re-engineering process. So you take the backlog and try to figure out and make the strategy explicit, right? And so the most important, what's the connection here to strategy and prioritization? Is that prioritization should happen on strategy level and not so much on delivery level. So we have these two moments. So we have, on the one hand, we have our understanding of the problem space, and then we have the solution space. So these two important concepts, right? So let me explain how this works. So let's take a step back. Imagine, how do we start our product journey? So very often in the beginning, someone might approach us. So imagine this is us, proud product owners, and someone approaches us and says, okay, so you are the product owner, and I have this fantastic product idea. And they say, guys, can you just deliver on that idea, right? If you are in that situation, you can then say, right, okay, dear client, or dear director, whoever that is, dear sponsor of the product, let's take a step back. So what you're bringing me here is a solution, an idea for a problem. What is actually the problem you're trying to solve? Let's take a step back, right? So, and when we're talking about understanding the problem first before we build a solution, it's actually a conversation about strategy. So we're talking product strategy. So what constitutes product strategy? And this is the work that we have to do actually before we start building anything, right? So we want to focus first on our problem. So what is product strategy? So the one most important point is to understand, for whom are we actually building something? Who are our users and customers? This is the most important element of our product strategy, right? So who are the users, the customers? So, and then when we need to understand them first, and we need to understand their pain points, their problems, their needs, because in the end, we are building a solution for some of their problems, right? And there is no bigger waste than building a product that nobody needs. So this is the first step that we as product owners the first step that we need to take for product success. Guys, what else is part of product strategy? Anyone? What else would you consider part of strategy?
Technology, time taken to deliver a product, maybe, if we take too long.
Yes, so we need to understand roughly what the product really is. Yes, so that's part of technology, that's part of it. But this is more focused on solution. It's definitely part of it, right? So we need to understand what is the kind of product we are building, right? Definitely. But what else is part really? When we're talking strategy, we have to think business. Anything else, guys, that comes to your mind? What is strategy?
Criticality. Timelines be a part of it.
Sorry, again, please.
User needs, pain point, and their roadmap.
Okay, but wait. So we already talked. One important element, yes, that's the users, right? The customers. This is the basis, actually. Then we talk, okay, we need to understand what technologies are involved, right? But what else is part of strategy? And we have to think business. What comes to your mind when we're talking business?
Budget.
Yeah. What else?
criticality.
The criticality for the business, right?
Yeah.
So
how much critical it is, or like what the value it will provide. Like,
for the business, right?
yeah, for the business. Yeah.
Exactly. So this means we need to understand what are the business goals,
Business
right? And we need to
KPI.
the business outcomes. Yes, so we need to make it explicit. Why should an organization invest into that? Right? I mean, we don't do that just for the fun of it, right? And this is really important because a solution needs to be sustainable. Otherwise, it's very nice. Oh, yes, we're delivering so much value for the users, but we cannot make it work financially, right? So this has to, that also means, so this means business goals, right? This also entails your business strategy, right? So, and here we're talking now really strategy. Actually, there is, when we're talking strategy, you have this analogy to war, right? So like, a strategy basically is asking the question, how are we going to win the battle? How are we going to win the war, right? Our product success. And we're talking about war in that sense. We have to understand like, okay, so with whom are we competing actually? So what's the market we're going to get into, right? So we also need to understand our competition. What kind of market are we in? Is this a very novel product? Is there a market, etc.? All these are things are part of this, right? So market and our competitors. Okay, so this is what we as product owners should be involved in the beginning of any kind of initiative. Let's go back to our question. How can we prioritize? So let me ask you again. So what prioritization opportunities do you see now? Anyone?
Increment in user features. Maybe
Okay. Yes,
okay.
features, but we
Did
have
I
not
not
talked
get the
about.
question? Yeah.
Okay, let me repeat, no problem. So when we're talking product strategy, we are here in that moment in the problem space. Okay, so when you look at the different kind of users that you have, right? So first of all, what we can do now in terms of prioritization, we can look at the different types of users do we have, right? So we can segment our market, right? Oh, we have this type of user, we have that type of user. So the first opportunity for us is to decide to prioritize strategically which type of users should we focus on first. This is a very important prioritization opportunity, right? So we can have like the beginner user, we have the more experienced users. So part of our job as product owner to understand these different types of users and then make decisions strategically, right? So, and then we can look at all the different needs that our users have, pain points, problems. So I think you will surely agree with me that not all problems are the same. Some problems are bigger than others. So again, here we have another opportunity to prioritize. Let's focus on that pain point first, then the next one. Does it make sense, guys? So this is the users and customer and needs prioritization. Then we have another point with business goals. Not all business goals are the same, right? Usually you have multiple different business goals. So again, you can use this opportunity to decide which of the business goals are really important ones and which are secondary, right? And we can also look at by also making now analysis of our competitors, we can try to understand in which domains which areas of the product is really are our competitors stronger and where could we focus on something else to avoid that competition, right? So these conversations are about the problem space. We are not talking yet about specific solutions, right? So back to our initial question, right? You are joining a company and then you have already this product backlog. So the question is, how should we prioritize? So if you are not clear about what is actually the product strategy, it will be very difficult for you to effectively prioritize. Because here we are in the solution space now. So the important prioritizations happen in problem space, right? So we have also this moment of transition between the solution space and the problem space. And this is when we create products, right? We have this moment where we make the transition from problem space to the actual solution space. How does that happen? So in the beginning, as product owners, when we are starting with our initiative, we first want to focus on the problems. After understanding our problems, right, when we create our first product strategy, we have to actually validate that strategy. Are you sure that these pain points are true? Are we sure that there is a market? Are we sure that people are actually wanting to pay for that solution, right? So this is part of work that we call user research, market research, and this is part of our work to make sure that we are not going to invest into the wrong things. Okay. Now imagine that we have clarified and we have some certain feeling that yes, this is worth doing, right? Then it's the time. How can we cross from product strategy to the actual execution? Guys, what would you do now? What would be your approach? I'm curious. How would you start from the problem and try to cross over to the actual solution? Any ideas? What would be your approach? Have you ever had the opportunity to actually start creating a product? So let me give some pointers. So in our training course, we actually do this hands-on, right? So we start by actually asking you guys, do you have a product idea? Is there something that you would love to create, right? So we do that. We actually simulate that. So we start, right? We start with a product idea, and then we all create this strategy together. So we try to understand who would be our users for your product idea, what technology would be involved, which would be your business goals, right? How does the market look like, etc. And then we try to actually come up with features, with ideas. So this is the time when we actually we want to come up with a solution for these problems, right? And this is the moment that we call ideation. Okay, so there exist different workshop formats that we use to apply to come up and with ideas and combine them. Okay, so we are going to do this in our trainings also, and so it's basically a collaborative approach to creating different product ideas. After discussing them, refining them a little bit, this is already the input for our very first product backlog. All right. So what is a product backlog? A product backlog is actually nothing more than a wish list, an idea, a list of things that we think might lead to a solution to our problem. Right. So, and the thing is that we usually, when we translate strategy into this journey, we are actually translating then this strategy into what we call a roadmap, right? A roadmap is an alignment of potential releases on a timeline. So actually, then we have to take a step back and look at these different release that we can make over time, right? So we start with our very first release. Very often we call this very first release an MVP, right? The minimum valued a viable product. And based on our progress, we then define different steps on our roadmap. So we translate different releases on this time. So start with the first MVP, then we have the next goal we're trying to achieve, and so forth and so forth. So this is the global approach of a product owner, right? First of all, understand the problem, formulate a strategy, formulate an approach. How do you want to play the game, actually? How do you want to reach success? And what we also, in that context, what we recommend to use is to create a product vision, which is actually a very high level description of success. Based on that, then we develop this strategy. The next step is based on, after validating the most important assumptions, we refine our solution idea, and then we map on a timeline different releases, and moving forward towards our product vision. So these are in a broad line, the different steps. And so what I also hear, what I often see in my training courses is that people very often focus much more on Scrum as a tool and on the delivery aspects, the tactical aspects, and not so much on the actual product focus, right? So my recommendation is also what I've learned from experience, is that we start thinking about Scrum all the time. I don't know how's that in your case, guys. When you are working as a product owner, how much do you think about Scrum actually? Is that your concern? Like, oh, what meeting are we doing now? What do I have to do now? Who is responsible for what? How is that in your case, guys? I'm curious. Anyone? How's that in your experience, in your work as product owner?
I mean, I think
Anyone?
Scrum gives like visibility to the backlog and what it is that we're working on. So like, if I'm talking like maybe not the overall structure of Scrum, but like let's just say daily Scrum calls with, development teams, I think it helps keep alignment, like it gives some structure. So I mean, I think
Yeah.
about it in that context as important to have in terms of keeping your, team within, communicating with each other. Maybe not. Yeah, that's where I think about Scrum on a daily basis.
So, but are you really a lot of concern? Where do you focus your work? I'm curious. So what are your basic concerns?
I mean, for me, it's more or less I mean, delivering the product, right?
Okay,
That's my primary concern is delivery.
of
Um,
course. Oh, delivery,
yeah,
right?
but
Gotcha.
yeah.
All right.
I am currently a Scrum Master. I study,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I took the exam from your company here, and then I
Mm-hmm.
got the 100% pass mark. I got the certified Scrum Master. And right now I'm a Scrum Master in a project. So what I do is I need to set up all these Scrum ceremony, like a spring daily Scrum and spring
Mm-hmm.
review, spring retrospective. So I found that it's most important is you need to identify the blockers and solve the blockers and collaborate with teams.
Gotcha. Yeah, so you're coming from a perspective as a Scrum Master, really, right? About
Yeah.
blockers and helping the team move forward. All right. I'm curious about, oh, so we have also Nimrod. Nimrod, hi. So where are you joining us from? I'm curious.
Hi, I'm from Toronto.
Where
Toronto,
again?
Canada. Yeah, Toronto.
Oh, Toronto. Okay, right.
Yeah.
So are you working as a product owner? What's your context?
I'm currently unemployed, but yeah.
All right, all right. So from my perspective, what I've learned in the beginning when we start our career as product owners, the focus will be Scrum, right? Oh, I have to prepare the backlog. I have to do this. I have to go to that meeting. So we are very much focused on doing it all right as a product owner. But actually working as a product owner, after time, I noticed that Scrum is actually only a detail. Scrum is really just the tool that you are using. And the real challenge is, as Media said, right, is the product. So when I started to focus on my work really as a product owner, when I forgot about Scrum, this becomes your routine. This is the way that you're just working, you're organizing your work, right? But the real challenge that will make or break your product is really the product. It's getting strategy right, right? It's not just, oh, delivering. The thing is, delivering is no guarantee at all for your success. The actual work is how do you make sure that you are delivering the right thing, the right features? Are you really addressing the pain points of your users? Do they really want to use the product that you're delivering at the end, right? And so I'm seeing this from the point of view as a product owner and owner of a startup, right? This is as complex as it can get, okay? So this is when you start from a product idea, you need to understand your market, you need to understand your users, you need to understand the technology that is involved, right? And you are very much focused on the business goals because you're all the time struggling for survival. So this is very, let's say, very tense environment. So if you go to a corporate environment, it's basically the same thing, right? It's not that you are struggling about survival all the time, but you always have to understand it's the same thing. What are the business goals? Why are we doing this as an organization? Why are we paying for this? Why are we investing time and effort into that? So you will have the same problem. Competition, you also have that concern. So you might not be competing in the marketplace with someone external, but you always have competition. The competition is the way users are solving their problems right now because they are solving it somehow in a bad way. So that's your competitor. You have to provide a solution that is better than whatever they're doing it right now. So it's basically the same situation, right? And so this is really the essence of strategy, right? Your product success depends on these important points, okay? And and this is very useful if you take this perspective of a startup, right? So imagine you are as a product owner, you are CIO of your product that you're building, right? So very often people think like, oh, the product owner is more like a bureaucratic role, right? Someone who is who's ordering the backlog, right? But this is a very superficial view of the product owner. Okay, so we are actually we need to understand our role of a leader for our product success, right? Guys, does that make sense to you? All right. Guys, we still have some time for some questions. If you like to ask me anything, please, this is the opportunity. Anything related to Scrum, anything related to product ownership, feel free to ask. Anyone? What is the one big question that you always wanted to ask? What is that stuff you're doing actually, guys? Anyone?
Just one question though.
Please.
So in the ideation phase, do we include that a market research as per se, or is it come on a later stage? Because I feel like the ideation start like once you understand the problem that you
Yes.
are solving in a way, right? So then
Yes.
you come up with the like who like do the research based on primary research or maybe secondary data that you have, or maybe through workshops or interviews or anything. And in that you
Definitely.
find that like you more refine your like problem that you are addressing. So that will be initial, like it will become in ideation phase, right?
Yes, absolutely. So when we're looking at product strategy, when we try to understand our users and customers, this is when we do user research, right? So how do we do user research, right? Sounds a bit strange, that question, right? The question is, do you know the users for whom you are building a product? Hardik, do you know your users? Do we know them always?
To be honest, not always. You, but I mean, first you should know the problem. I mean,
Yes,
and
but
and from then onwards, like who will be your target audience that you can
yes, of course. Mhm.
yeah.
Yes, but then again, Hardik, the problems exist only for people. There is no it's directly linked to your users. It's people that have problems. It's people that have challenges, right? So and the challenges they can be very different for different types of people. So understanding the problem actually means understanding the users. In what context are they having a problem and they're trying to solve it, right? So the technique, so I would start with that, trying to understand who are the people that have these problems. So how do we do that? So we have the classical approach of user interviews, client interviews, problem interviews, right? Really meeting them, having a conversation, trying to understand what's happening. So the classical approach is then that you if you have the possibility also, is observe your users in their environment where they're working and understand their pain points, interviewing them. You can try to make research surveys. It's a bit more complicated to really identify. It's more like a quantitative thing. So there are many different approaches that you can do. But the most important is definitely user interviews, actually trying to connect, understand on a deeper level what is really happening with these people. Does that make sense, Hardik?
Yeah, yes, it does. On that same line, I just have one more question though. That when you have a like, I mean, as a user, as a generic, when you explain it, but based on which demographics, I mean, like, how can you, choose a set of people like who you are addressing in a way, like maybe based on age, or based on maybe gender, or like uh, place they're living in, or like etc. So like to choose a particular set of people which for whom you are addressing a problem. So like
Mm-hmm.
how can you do that? Just basically because see when you just say user, it's like any number of people can be a user, but majorly the target audience that you are like aiming for. So how do we bifurcate them? Like
How do you identify them?
correct, yeah, kind of. On
Well,
which parameter basically yeah.
so so let me ask you, when you're building a solution for someone, do you know at least one person with that problem?
Yeah, maybe that person. It's sometimes me only, but yeah.
Right? So first of all, so what we did, so for example, let me give an example from my context. So we are building software for lawyers companies. So we started with one specific company, and they asked us, "Oh, can you help us with a certain problem, etc., etc." So we had this opportunity to really experience firsthand what was happening. And based on these experiences, like observation, interviews, right, we got an idea, an understanding of what's happening. based on that understanding, we invited similar lawyers' offices and owners and conducted our interviews. So it's just by having a certain number of interviews that you will start then detecting patterns of problems. And this is when you then get you get this understanding. Each problem, each challenge has its own context. So you cannot really generalize this. So you need to understand your market. So it's meet the people who are involved, talk a lot to people, try to understand really their concerns. And then you will build up lots of examples that allow you to see patterns of your problems. So definitely my biggest recommendation would be really to meet people and have conversations with them and try to understand their context. Right? So Hardik, I don't know if that really helps you. But that's my approach. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So maybe I can give you. So the thing is, basically, you have those two situations, right? Either you have direct contact to these users. It can be difficult when you're trying to launch a product and you don't really know, and then you don't have one specific person. Maybe that's your situation. So there are certain techniques that you could use. For example, you want to understand. Hardik, tell me if that's the case. You want to understand, is there actually demand for my product idea? Is that what's happening?
Correct. Yeah, at some level, yeah. I mean, like, I just want to understand, like, who will be the exact target audience that I'm targeting to, like, if I have a product. So for which people do they, like, their product serves the purpose. So, I mean, yeah, at some level, yeah, like, demand,
Yeah, so you know what you can do? Have you tried artificial intelligence? Have you tried using these tools? They can
Mm,
give you really interesting insights. So what I have also discovered is that you can use this to make market research, right? So you can ask very broadly. You can specify pain points and then ask ChatGPT, for example. So can you describe my market to me? Can you describe the profile of the people, etc.? So that definitely is an approach that you can also use. What do you think of that?
yeah, I feel, yeah. I mean, at some level, it can give me a good context. So,
Yes,
yeah,
it's a good
a good
starting
start.
point.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. So the thing is, sometimes these tools can really give you some insights because they can detect broad patterns. Okay, so that's definitely an important tool in your toolkit as a product owner. Try to start learning AI for that. So with AI, you can also ask to define and refine your personas, your types of users, right? Because these tools can tap into huge amount of data and to try to understand patterns that emerge, right? So definitely I would try that. Okay. Makes sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
All right, guys. Also, another thing is, so you need to understand the problem space that you are in as a product owner. So for example, in our case, I'm talking here as someone who is building tools for lawyers. So you need to understand these guys. You need to understand how they work. So you might want to meet these people in conventions, in all the organizations that they have, etc., trade shows, conferences, etc. So meet the people where they are, right? And build relationships with these guys. as product owners, we need to really understand the people for whom we're building our solutions, right? That's really the key point for being really successful product owner. We are not just some, let's say, a backlog bureaucrat. That's not our job, right? Scrum is just a tool, but the essence of our work is really the product. And that means the clients, the users of our product. Hope that makes sense. All right, guys. Okay, so we are reaching the end of this quick presentation and this quick chat. Do you have any final questions we'd like to discuss quickly? Yeah, Maria. Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to say, what are some other ways that you look at, leveraging AI in, building out a product strategy? I'm just curious.
So AI is definitely an absolutely game changer. It will really accelerate the work, and specifically in product strategy, really. So let me give you some examples for users. If you want to understand user and try to detect patterns, you can use AI to refine and build your persona descriptions, right? To understand what are the basic characteristics and pain points of certain type of people. So that's one thing AI is really great for, right? Of course, take it all with a grain of salt, okay? Then also understanding market from market research. This is a fantastic tool. So you can ask about what are the main competitors. You can describe your problem and ask, so which products are currently solving that? And you can make analysis like SWOT analysis of the competition. You can ask them to compare products, etc. So that's a great tool for that, okay? Based on that, so if you look at the broader path, that the journey of a product, when you look at the problem, and so this is problem space, but when you move to solution space, right? You can also use AI to help you with coming up with product ideas, features. Okay, you can ask the AI also to help you prioritize based on problems, right? So based on pain points, on value. So AI can help you here, right? Very, very interestingly, right? You can also ask them when you're actually building your product. There are already products that help you to generate ideas, right? And so also UX ideas. So how would you structure things, etc. So AI can really help you to accelerate also the creation of prototypes, right? So you don't have to build. This is actually one of the big pain points that we have, that we need to build and test quickly product ideas. So is it possible to, for example, we can postpone actually the actual building of our product a little bit more by using quickly generated product prototypes, right? That are actually functional, but that are not really scalable. We can use them for prototyping and testing more, quickly evaluate our value proposition, etc. Right? So that's something that we can, where AI is definitely changing the game, right? But again, but even so, this is another tool that we use, but we still need to understand this journey here. This doesn't change, right? We need to understand product. We need to understand problems. We need to understand business. We need to understand business value. We need to understand the value proposition. We need to understand how we move forward from here. How do we generate ideas? And how do we keep on delivering, understanding, validating all the time using a framework like Scrum, right? This doesn't change. It's just another tool. And this is just to close the thought here. So in our training course, in the CSPO training course, we will give you this whole understanding of that journey. And then so that you will be able to use whatever tool that you have at hand to move forward. So yes, we can use this tool for that. We can use AI for this and that, but we still need to understand the whole journey. And we take you, right? So we explain Scrum, right? How does Scrum work? What's the problem we're trying to solve with Scrum? We explain how it works, the different events, etc. But then we focus actually on building product. So we create this product idea, step by step. We develop a strategy, create some, and then based on that, we build a backlog. And then we actually talk also about what do we do with the backlog now? So how do we manage this over time? How do we refine and all that stuff? So this is all part of the training course. And yeah, it would be really nice to maybe someday meet you in one of my training courses here together with Simpliaxis, right? And that's it, guys. Do you have any last question before we call it a day? If not, yeah, please. In that case, I thank you all very much for your attention and see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining in. Thank you so much, Axel.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.